My name is Emma, and I live in the beautiful but often very rainy city of Portland, Oregon. At 35 years old, I have spent a good portion of my life trying to do the right thing for the environment while also trying to keep my bank account from hitting zero. Living in the Pacific Northwest means you are surrounded by trees and mountains, and everyone here seems to be obsessed with saving the planet. I am no different. I love hiking in the Columbia River Gorge and breathing in the fresh, pine-scented air. For a long time, I was getting around on an old bicycle and using the public transit system, but as I got older and my job responsibilities grew, I realized I needed a car. Not just any car, though. I wanted an electric vehicle. I wanted to be part of the solution, not the problem. I wanted to drive past gas stations and smile, knowing I was powered by electricity instead of fossil fuels. But here is the thing about electric vehicles: they are incredibly expensive. Even the used ones can cost a fortune. I had been saving my pennies for years, working as a data analyst and skipping expensive lattes and vacations. By the time May of 2024 rolled around, I finally had enough for a down payment. I started looking at a massive online car dealership that everyone knows. They make it so easy. You just browse on your phone, click a few buttons, and a truck shows up at your house with a car on the back. It felt like the future. I found several options on their website that looked perfect. The best part was that there were these amazing tax credits available. The federal government was offering $4,000 back for used electric vehicles, and the state of Oregon was offering another $5,000. That is $9,000 in total savings. It felt like I was winning the lottery. I found a sleek, silver electric vehicle listed for just under $25,000. On the website, it explicitly stated that this car was eligible for the federal tax credit. I was so careful. I even opened a customer service chat window to double-check. I asked the representative if I would definitely get the $4,000 back. The representative told me, and I saved these chat logs because I am a very organized person, that I could file for the credit with my tax returns because the car was absolutely eligible. I was overjoyed. I felt like I was making a smart, adult decision. I was getting a $25,000 car for what would eventually be $16,000 after all the credits. Plus, I would be saving about $450 every month because I would not have to buy gasoline. It seemed too good to be true, and as I would soon find out, it was. I decided to have the car delivered to my house in Portland because it was convenient. There was an optional delivery fee of $590. I thought, why not? It is a small price to pay for the convenience of not having to travel to pick up the car. The car arrived, and it was beautiful. It smelled like a new car, and it drove as smooth as silk. I felt so proud of myself. But then, months later, tax season arrived. I sat down with my laptop and a large cup of coffee, ready to claim my hard-earned money. I entered the vehicle identification number into the tax software and waited for the magic to happen. But instead of a $4,000 credit, the screen flashed a bright red error message. My claim was rejected by the Internal Revenue Service. My heart dropped into my stomach. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. The message said that the Internal Revenue Service had no record of this vehicle identification number being filed as a tax credit-eligible vehicle. I could not believe it. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I spent the next several hours frantically searching through my papers and calling the massive online car dealership. I finally got through to a level 1 customer service representative. I explained the situation, expecting them to apologize and fix it immediately. Instead, the person on the other end of the phone basically told me that it sucked to be me, but there was nothing they could do. They were dismissive and cold. I was languishing over the loss of $4,000. That is a lot of money for a regular person like me. I started blaming myself. Maybe I should have read the fine print more carefully. I stayed up late every night for a week, doing deep research into the regulations of the Internal Revenue Service. I finally figured out what happened. According to the rules, the purchase price of the vehicle has to be under $25,000 to qualify for the credit. It turns out that the Internal Revenue Service considers the optional delivery fee as part of the purchase price. Because I paid $590 for delivery, my total price was $25,590. I was over the limit by a tiny amount, and that tiny amount cost me $4,000. I was furious. I was also furious at myself for not knowing this, but then I realized something. This massive online car dealership is the expert. They sell thousands of cars. They should have known this. They should have warned me. No reasonable person would choose to pay $600 for delivery if they knew it would cost them $4,000 in tax credits. If I had known, I would have just picked the car up myself or hired a different company to move it. I felt like I had been trapped. I called back and asked to speak to someone higher up. I got to a level 2 customer service representative. I asked them if they could legally change the purchase contract to show the delivery fee separately. They said no. Then I tried a different approach. I begged them to just refund the $590 delivery fee to help me out. They said no to that too. Then, the representative told me something that made my eye twitch. They said it was not just the delivery fee that put me over the limit, but also the registration and titling fees. I knew right then that they were lying to me. I had the official regulations right in front of my face on my computer screen. I knew for a fact that title and registration fees are not included in the purchase price for the tax credit. I asked the representative where they were getting their information. They told me it came from their internal tax accountants and that because they were a retailer and not a dealer, the rules were different. That was complete nonsense. I was looking at losing $4,000 because of their incompetence and lies. I pushed for further escalation, but they told me there was no one else to talk to. They said they would review it with their team and get back to me, which I knew was just a way to get me off the phone. I did not give up. I dug even deeper into the laws. I found a document called Revenue Procedure 22-42 and a section of the United States Code called 26 United States Code Section 25E. These documents are very long and very boring, but I read every single word. I discovered a very important rule. The law says that for every vehicle eligible for a credit, the dealership must provide the buyer with a document called a seller report. This report lists the amount of credit the buyer is eligible for, and the dealership is required to deliver it within 3 days of the sale. This is a huge deal. If the dealership had given me that report within 3 days, I would have seen that the tax credit was zero. At that point, I would still have been within my 7-day return window. I could have returned the car and got my money back, or we could have fixed the price issue right then. But they never gave me that report. They broke the law. I felt a surge of energy. I had them. I wrote a professional email citing all the laws and regulations I had found, and I sent it to every executive email address I could find for the company. I even found an email address that the state of Connecticut had forced them to create for customer complaints. I waited a week and got nothing but a canned response saying they could not help me because I did not live in Connecticut. Then I had a second round of talks with another level 2 representative, but it was the same old story. They were sticking to their script. They were not empowered to help me. I realized that they were just waiting for me to go away. They thought I was just some small person who would eventually get tired and stop fighting. They were wrong. I had already started preparing for a bigger battle. I had taken screenshots of the original car listing showing it was tax credit eligible. I had saved every single chat log where their representatives told me I would get the credit. I was ready. I decided to file a complaint with the Oregon Attorney General and also file a lawsuit in small claims court. While I was doing my research for the lawsuit, I found something amazing called the Oregon Unfair Trade Practices Act. This law says that if a company does something unfair or deceptive to a customer, they can be held liable for something called punitive damages. Punitive damages are extra money meant to punish the company for their bad behavior. The best part is that the law applies even if the company just should have known better because they are professionals. In Oregon, small claims court is capped at $10,000. I decided to sue them for the $4,000 I lost, plus my filing fees, and then ask for the rest of the $10,000 in punitive damages. I filed the claim and paid the small fee to the court. I felt a sense of peace once the papers were filed. I had done everything I could. A few days later, the dynamic shifted. Suddenly, someone with actual authority from the company reached out to me. They didn't sound like a script-reading robot this time. They offered me $500 to settle the case and make it go away. I laughed out loud when I read that email. I told them absolutely not. I mentioned that I had preserved all the records from before I filed the lawsuit. I told them I had the proof that they advertised the car as eligible. I also told them something that really seemed to rattle them. I had gone back to look at my account on their website after I filed the lawsuit, and I noticed that the car listing had been changed. It no longer said it was tax credit eligible. Even worse, The chat logs where I discussed the credit with their reps had mysteriously vanished from my account history. It was a clear attempt to hide evidence. I told them I had saved the records before they changed them and after. I had caught them red-handed. They asked me to send them my evidence. I told them no. I told them that since they are the ones who own the website and the servers, they should have their own records. If they didn't, I wasn't going to help them fill the gaps in their defense. I wanted them to be scared of what I might bring to court. Around this time, I also heard from the Office of the Attorney General. They told me they had reached out to the company to investigate my complaint. Now the company was feeling pressure from two sides. They were being sued by an individual, and they were being looked at by the state government. A week later, they increased their settlement offer to $2,000. I could smell blood in the water. I knew they were afraid. I told them that $2,000 was not enough. They had cost me $4,000, and I wanted every penny of that back, plus the cost of filing the lawsuit, which was about $200. I told them if they didn't agree to the full amount, I would see them in court and ask the judge for the full $10,000. Exactly 10 minutes after I sent that email, they replied. They said they accepted my terms. I had won. I felt like I had climbed a mountain. They sent over a settlement agreement for me to sign, but it was a total disaster. It was written in a way that would make it so I could never sue them for anything ever again, even if it had nothing to do with this car. It even said my heirs and children could never sue them. They also wanted me to keep the whole thing a secret and not tell anyone about what happened. They even tried to make it so I would have to withdraw my complaint with the Attorney General. I stood my ground again. I told them I would not sign it unless they changed the language. I told them the settlement should only be about this specific tax credit issue and nothing else. I also told them I would not agree to stay quiet about it. I wanted to be able to tell my story so other people wouldn't get cheated like I did. They fought me on it, but I didn't budge. Eventually, they realized I wasn't going to give in. They edited the agreement. They limited the release to just the tax credit issue, and they removed the confidentiality clause. They still wouldn't remove the part about my heirs, but since it was only about this one tax credit, I didn't care. I signed the papers and sent them back. A few days later, a check arrived in the mail for the full amount of $4,200. I took that check to the bank and watched the numbers show up in my account. It was the most satisfying feeling in the world. I then went back to the court and filed a dismissal with prejudice, which means the case is officially over and cannot be filed again. Now I am sitting in my home in Portland, looking out at the rain, and I feel a deep sense of justice. I fought a giant corporation that thought it could push me around, and I won. I learned that even if you feel small and overwhelmed, you can make a difference if you are willing to do the work and stand up for yourself. I spent hours reading dry legal documents and making phone calls, but it was all worth it. I have my electric vehicle, and I have my $4,000. More importantly, I have my dignity. I showed them that they cannot just lie to people and get away with it. I also made sure to share my story online so that when other people search for this issue, they will find my experience. I want everyone to know that these companies are not invincible. They make mistakes, and sometimes they try to hide those mistakes, but the law is there to protect us. If you ever find yourself in a situation where a big company is trying to cheat you, don't just give up. Do your research, save your evidence, take screenshots of everything, and don't be afraid to take them to small claims court. It is there for people like us. I am proud of what I did. Every time I get into my car and drive through the streets of Portland, I am reminded of my victory. I am not just driving an electric vehicle, I am driving a symbol of my persistence. The rain is still falling outside, but I am feeling warm and satisfied. I did it. I actually did it. I fought the giant and I won every single penny they owed me. It is a good day. I hope my story inspires others to fight back too. It wasn't just about the money, though the money is great. It was about the principle of the thing. It was about making sure a billion-dollar company doesn't get to keep money that belongs to a working person just because they think they can. I have learned so much through this process. I know more about the United States Code and the Internal Revenue Service regulations than I ever thought I would. I know how to navigate the small claims court system in Oregon. I know how to talk to representatives from the Attorney General's office. These are skills I will have for the rest of my life. I am a different person now than I was back in May. I am stronger and more confident. I know that I have the power to hold people and companies accountable. And as for that massive online car dealership, I hope they learned a lesson too. I hope they realize that they need to be honest with their customers and follow the law. I hope they start providing those seller reports to every single person who buys an electric vehicle from them. But even if they don't change, I know that I stood up and did my part. I am now looking at some other upgrades for my car, maybe some new floor mats or a better charging station for my house. With that extra $4,000, I can afford to make my electric vehicle experience even better. It is funny how things work out. I started this journey feeling cheated and foolish, and I ended it feeling like a hero in my own story. The road was long and full of obstacles, but I kept driving until I reached the finish line. And let me tell you, the view from the finish line is absolutely beautiful. I think I will go for a drive now, past the gas stations and through the green forests of Oregon, enjoying every quiet electric mile. I might even stop and get that expensive latte I've been skipping. I think I've earned it. The victory is sweet and the future looks bright and fully charged. I am Emma, and this was my journey to justice. It was hard, it was frustrating, and it was worth every second. To anyone out there facing a similar battle, keep going. Don't let them win. You have more power than you think. Use it. Document everything. Be polite but firm. Know your rights. The law is a tool and you just have to learn how to use it. Once you do, you can move mountains. Or in my case, you can move a giant car company to pay up what they owe. Justice is possible, even for one person in Portland, Oregon. My bank account is full, my car is charged, and my heart is light. This is the end of this chapter, but I know I'm ready for whatever comes next. I am no longer just a customer who got tricked. I am a consumer who fought back and won. And that is a feeling that no amount of money can buy. Although the $4,000 certainly helps, I feel a sense of closure now. The check is cashed, the court case is closed, and the lesson is learned. I am moving forward with a smile on my face and a very clear conscience. The rain has stopped for a moment, and a rainbow is appearing over the hills. It feels like a sign. A sign that standing up for yourself is always the right thing to do. I am happy. I am relieved. And I am finally at peace with my purchase. My electric vehicle is exactly what I wanted it to be, and I got it for exactly the price I was promised. It took a lot of extra work to get there, but the destination is perfect. I am ready for many years of happy driving in my beautiful, silver, tax credit-eligible car. It was quite a journey, but I wouldn't change a thing. Every frustration and every late-night research session led me to this moment of total victory. I hope you enjoyed my story as much as I enjoyed winning it. Remember, always save your chat logs and never let a big company tell you that there's no one else to talk to. There is always a way to fight back if you're determined enough. This is Emma, signing off from the green and rainy city of Portland. Drive safe and always read the fine print. But if the fine print is wrong, don't be afraid to pick up a pen and fight back. Goodbye for now, and may your own battles for justice always end as successfully as mine did. I am going to enjoy my quiet drive now, listening to the sound of the wind instead of an engine, knowing that I am truly part of the change I wanted to see in the world. And that is the best feeling of all. It is funny how life works out sometimes. You think you're just buying a car, but you end up learning a whole lot about yourself and the world. I'm a better person for it. I'm a more informed citizen, I'm a fighter, and I'm a winner. It feels good to say that. It feels really good. I'm going to take a deep breath of that fresh Oregon air and just be happy for a while. I've earned it. We all deserve to be treated fairly, and when we aren't, we have the right to do something about it. Never forget that. Your voice matters, your actions matter, and your $4,000 certainly matters. I'm living proof of that. Take care of yourselves out there and don't let the big guys get you down. You've got this, just like I had this. The end.